Sources have claimed that Meghan Markle's podcast staff needed long-term therapy or needed to take extended breaks from work after working with her. Now, if someone said that your staff literally needed therapy after working with you, I would think that's quite a damning assessment of what it's like to work with those people. This is exactly what's been reported in a fairly lengthy Vanity Fair article reported here by The Telegraph. I'll link both of these articles below, and that is exactly what it says. And so I'm going to take a look at this with a bit of a careful eye, and obviously this is just what's being reported. It's what people have said. No statements of fact here. This is either my opinion on what I'm reading or it's just what's being reported. But either way, I think that's quite damning. So first of all, you're here with me on Secrets, Black Belt Secrets, so please do subscribe. You may be familiar with my main channel. You may not be familiar with either. You may be seeing me for the first time. But my main channel is Black Belt Barrister. I'm a barrister of England and Wales. But here, we're in gossip land sometimes because I save this sort of stuff where a lot of people take an interest, and so do subscribe here too. Let's take a look at this. Now, there's an interesting aside here. When they say, and this is somewhat from a legal perspective, but when someone says that a source close to somebody, it may be someone that works there, it may be someone that knows them, it may be a friend, it may be the person themselves. Now, in this case, I think it probably isn't. But there are some other stories that I'll talk about in just a moment where I think probably, quite possibly, could be one of them themselves, or certainly one of their team. That is talking potentially about the potential divorce book deal that has been circulating as well, which I think is a little bit odd since they're not divorced. But there was a documentary by Popcorn Productions with Andy Signal, and I'm in it, so check that out. It's over on his Patreon. Go check that out. I am in it if you'd like to see that. But first of all, let's take a look at this. So let's start at the beginning. Podcast staff apparently needed long-term therapy or took extended breaks from work after working with Meghan Markle. This is according to the Vanity Fair article, their claim from what people have said, sources within that. They say that they talked to a source that alleges that the strain that Meghan put on her colleagues, all the people that work there, when things went wrong, was really, really, really awful and very painful. They say, their words. She's constantly playing checkers, they say. I'm not even going to say chess, but she's just very aware of where everybody is on her board. And when you're not in, you are to be thrown to the wolves at any given moment. Now, on any account, if someone feels that their job is not safe and they're going to be picked on or whatever, that must be awful, if that is indeed the case, according to this source here. The allegations come in this lengthy article. I'll link that below. It says that it spent, at Vanity Fair, this has said that it spent months speaking to dozens of people who've lived and worked with the Sussexes to establish how their new life has panned out. 8,000 words of this cover. Prince Harry's portrayed as being naive, a lonely figure, failed to make any friends, desperate to reconnect with his family. I think that's my assessment of certainly the last part, being desperate to reconnect with the family. I think that much is true. That's my opinion. I think that he is desperate to reconnect with family. One source suggested that he did not necessarily realise the powerful impact that his tell-all memoir spare would have. How on earth, really, would you not know the impact, the devastating impact that a book like that would have? I to this day, we are some way along now in this whole story. How on earth would you not know the devastating impact? I'm still sort of beside myself that someone could put all of those details. If you don't know the details, I'll spare you the details. Pun intended. I'm British. Live with it. But I just still cannot believe the detail, the level of detail that he went into. Just stuff that you just don't put in a book. You don't publish. You don't tell all. You don't do this. You don't say those things. But he did, and so I am beside myself that someone did that. And moreover, that a source suggested that he didn't necessarily realise the powerful impact that this book spare would have. I think that's staggering. If that's true, I think that is staggering. The Duke's idea for a podcast is gently mocked. Dubbed a sociopath podcast, he reportedly wanted to interview powerful... I remember this. Apparently wanted to interview powerful men with complicated stories, such as Putin, Trump, Zuckerberg, about their experiences and then turning them into sociopaths. He is said to have said, as it's reported, "I have a very bad childhood trauma. Obviously, my mother was essentially murdered. What is it about me that didn't make me one of these bad guys?" Meanwhile, this goes on. Meghan's portrayed as a ruthless boss who treats those who fail to impress her with contempt. One person quoted as saying that this manifested as undermining, adding, "It's talking behind your back, it's gnawing at your sense of self, really like Mean Girl's teenager." One source told Vanity Fair, "You don't tell the couple no," adding, "I left because I couldn't live with myself anymore." The allegations are reminiscent of the previous bullying claims made against her, which have always been hotly denied. She's always denied those things. And this goes on and on. Source after source that they quote, and they go on and on. So I'll link both of those below. You can go and read them. But as I say, I think that's quite a damning report. If this is what people are really saying, they are prepared to say to magazines and publish these things, I think that's really damning. Now, there are even more outrageous stories in the news, and I'll come back to that in just a moment, but don't go away. Just as an aside for a moment, along with your kind help and support in growing this channel, Black Belt Secrets, I'm also supported by some great companies that I've chosen to work with. I've chosen them very carefully that bring you great products and services. So allow me a moment to tell you about one of those. Now, on my main channel, Black Belt Barrister, I talked a lot about identity theft in the early days of that channel, how people are scammed and conned with their details and data, and ultimately they fall victim to identity theft and fraud, and they get loans and accounts taken out in their name, and they spend years trying to unravel it. I've had clients like that have had their lives turned upside down because the banks have added them to a fraud database and everything has been shut down. Now, one company that I've chosen to partner with on that channel and on this channel here on Secrets to help you is called Incogni, because there's a law in the United Kingdom and the United States that allows you to insist that these data broker marketing companies that collect and gather your data together, which ultimately might end up you being impersonated, it requires them to remove that data from their servers. There are hundreds of these companies, and it would take you countless hours to track them all down and research them and go off and ask them legally to remove your data. But with Incogni, they do all of that work for you. You sign up and you get a dashboard, and they give you a rundown of how many companies they've contacted, how many companies have removed your data from their servers, and it's staggering the amount of companies that have this data on you. And ultimately, that might end up in the wrong hands, and then they can impersonate you, and you end up in our client's position where they've had loans and stuff taken out in their name, and their lives are turned upside down. It is a fantastic service. I obviously get you a great discount as a partner to my channel here on Black Belt Secrets. If you use the code Black Belt Secrets, you will get a 60% discount off the Incogni service, and of course you get a 30-day money-back guarantee if you change your mind. But this will lead to fewer spam calls, robocalls, and other scams in general, and reduce your overall financial risk. So I would greatly recommend Incogni to remove your data from all of these companies and give you that peace of mind. So check them out, and thank you to Incogni for sponsoring this video. But now let's talk about rumours of divorce, etc. Now, I was part of this 3-part docuseries with Andy Signor and his Popcorn Productions. Now, you must have seen this. There were news stories and reports that apparently she was discussing the idea of a possible book deal about the hypothetical scenario about what it would be like if she and Harry were to get divorced. Now, I have no idea whether there's any truth to this or not, but these things do have a way of getting out, and people do tend to talk to the press, and so, you know, there might be some truth in here somewhere. Or maybe she got the idea from this, I don't know. Maybe she saw this and decided that that might be a good idea to go and sit down with a publisher to say, well, I'll cash in and do a book deal on that myself. Who knows, really? Anyone's speculation here, but this one article here says a source close to the Duchess has claimed that she can't split with Harry even if she wanted to, after a bombshell report revealed details of the post-book divorce deal. It says a source close to the Duchess has claimed that she can't split with Harry even if she wanted to, after this bombshell report revealed details of a post-divorce book deal. Now, as I say, these things that I've read stress that there's no indication that they're going to separate, but it's a hypothetical. to gauge interest as to what interest there would be if she did release a book as to what if we did get divorced. I find that really kind of strange in itself. I mean, not strange in the sense that there was this docuseries. So from a legal standpoint, where are things that we talk about in here are where would it likely be held, what would happen to the children, what would happen to assets, and how would the case unfold, and all of these kind of things. Fairly interesting things, if I say so myself, in this docuseries. But if she was really discussing a potential book deal from her own perspective, I mean, why not, I suppose? But I do find that a bit odd, frankly. But anyway, it goes on. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle can't split because their value is in being a couple. A source told Page Six amid claims that she is potentially shopping this post-divorce book. Vanity Fair covered the story, alleging that her team had quiet talks with an unnamed publishing house. I always find this interesting when it's all supposed to be quiet and then somehow it hits the press anyway. I mean, just maybe this is all complete nonsense, but these things have a way of having at least some inkling of truth to them. To gauge interest in the idea for the book. However, a source who has worked closely with them told Page Six, Meghan and Harry know that they are tied together. Their value is in being a couple. Even if they wanted to split, they couldn't. And honestly, they're obsessed with each other. And frankly, I would agree with that. I think the value, whatever value there is, I think in the businesses or whatever they're doing, I think that probably does come from being a couple. Although I think potentially they could have their own directions as well. She could maybe go back into acting. Harry could come back here and, just test whether they would accept him back to royal duties. I don't think that's likely, quite frankly, but they could have their own directions if they really wanted to. And then this goes on. Another insider familiar with the original $20 million Penguin Random House deal, who signed them in 2021, said they never heard anything about divorce. However, it appears, they say, that this highly publicized deal that they were previously talking about, this leadership and wellness and everything else, has quietly dissipated after Spare was released. Again, I find that telling, because I just don't think that after the backlash, and there really was backlash from Spare, further releases are frankly highly questionable. It could go either way, really. They are worth more together, said the publishing insider. It doesn't benefit them to be apart. They all have their deals together. I think Random House deal is much like the Netflix deal. Netflix just said yes to everything because they wanted to get the docuseries. So they said, okay, we'll go to the polo show and see what happens in Meghan's new lifestyle show. And that's probably true as well. They probably just say, yes, let's explore everything. Let's see where we go. And frankly, I've got no criticism of that. I mean, these publishing houses probably are looking at anything that they can get their hands on, any potential, anything that they can sell. After all, if this is sold in the land of gossip, whether it's positive, negative, I think people will buy it, people will read it. In fact, the comment section to videos like this is fairly split. Some people have absolutely no interest in them whatsoever. Other people make their feelings very, very well known, particularly with stories such as the one where they're accused of staging that photo opportunity at the LA fires. They've been labelled as conspiracy theorists, but they said they brutally targeted the couple, accusing them of staging one aspect of the trip alongside the video clip of Meghan and Harry consoling a woman wearing a dark grey t-shirt. One claim reads that the part that they don't want you to see, the girl that Meghan was hugging, is leaving with them, so she's clearly staff. Then you pan around to see that the photographer was allowed to follow them into the security closed off area to get the footage they needed. Why is the fire victim leaving with them? Someone said in the comments. She was a volunteer, according to her lanyard, but it's obvious that she's their staff. Meghan only goes to hug her when she realises that they're being filmed walking away. So I really don't know. I mean, was that an entirely made up? I mean, some people, I read some comments myself. Some people said, well, why would they be interested in them being there? Why would anyone want Harry and Meghan there at all? Certainly, I mean, I did see when they were all lined up for a photo opportunity and that sort of stuff. I think that's a bit odd, because I think the last thing I would want is a photo opportunity with anybody, quite frankly, if I was in the middle of those fires. All a bit very strange. I mean, the fact that they consistently pop up at times like this it was a photo opportunity, whether you see that in a positive light or not. It was clearly a photo opportunity because they're standing there having photographs taken with lots of people there. So that much itself, whether or not the people that she was hugging with, whether that was fake or not, no idea. But the whole thing was a photo opportunity. Would I have done that? I don't think I would, quite frankly. Would many people want to do that? I mean, probably not. I don't know. I mean, it wouldn't be the first thing on my mind if you're in the middle of those fires with your houses burning down. But hey, this is a very, very strange series of events. But like I say, let me know what you think in the comments below. I think this is a fairly few damning stories here, but look at everything with an open mind, and just bear in mind that these sources that talk to the newspapers, there's no way really of absolutely verifying every word that they say, and the source could go all the way back to the couple themselves. It could be them feeding bits of information to the press. It could be someone beside them. But if it is, I always find it really strange. If it is someone right next to them, they either know or they don't know. And if they know, then obviously they are complicit in planting information in the media, or they don't know and someone's betraying them. And what an awful position to be in. That, of course, assuming that any of it's true in the first place, and I find that all a bit odd. But this is what the newspapers are printing. This is what they're talking about. So those are my overall thoughts. You have your thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments. As always, thank you for watching.